All right, welcome. We are doing the very first Healing Starts Here panel session. This is our day shift panel. I've got Donnie Samuel and Rachel Stout. I was like, what is Rachel's last name? And then Jared Erickson with me. And we're just gonna go through a couple of questions that I have for them. I know in our survey over Christmas, you all had mentioned wanting to hear from other nurses. So I've got the best of the best from our day shift team here. So I'm very excited to chat with them about a couple of things. And they were very, very, very gracious to agree to do this. So first off, I'll just have each of you go around and introduce yourself and then say how long you've been a nurse and then how long you've been at Swedish. So I'll just say, Donnie, I'll have you go first.
Okay. Hi, my name's Donnie Samuel. I have been a nurse for almost 21 years. I've been at Swedish for 18 years, almost 19, but it'll be, it's 18 years. What else? I've only done ICU. I've been, I'm a creature of habit, so I just stay and just stay rooted. I don't know anything else.
That's great. All right, Rachel, I'll have you go next.
I think this will be like my 11th year as a nurse and as a registered nurse, and it's all been at Swedish. I started my health career at Children's Hospital as an ACO. I was there for about five or 6 years. Yep. And I'm also very loyal, as Donnie is too.
What were you in the ICU at Swedish the whole time, or did you?
I started in the IMCU.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And then you
went yeah.
Okay.
Original on 8.
Yeah.
The
OG. Okay, and then Jared.
So one, I'm honored that you think I'm one of the best of the best. I don't think that's true at all.
Our team is the best of the best.
Relative to all the other fantastic people here, I have only been a nurse. I'm in my infancy, 3.5 years, and they've all been at Swedish. I started the ICU pandemic when they fast-tracked us.
Nice. Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to clarify because I think you were breaking up on my end. So you were in the IMCU for the first 2 years and then ICU since the pandemic, basically.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Yeah, just to clarify, our whole Swedish team is the best of the best. So I had plenty.
That's true.
Okay, so let's start off with our first question. What do you all think when you hear the words taking care of yourself first? And do you think you do that well? Let's start with Jared for your answer.
So taking care of yourself, I feel like the old thing, I know everybody thinks of this example is like you have to apply your own oxygen mask in the airplane before you help somebody else, because if you don't, you'll pass out and then everybody's screwed. So that's what I kind of think about. And what does that mean to me? When I start feeling run down, I think it's time to take care of myself, because if I come to work with a shitty attitude and I don't want to be here, that's going to reflect poorly on my patients and my coworkers. It's just going to bring my whole pod down. And so that's when I know it's time. I need to have a little self-care. And what do I do for self-care? It's just as something simple as sleeping in is amazing, and getting more sleep and rest. And for me, it's physical activity also is part of my self-care.
Yeah. So do you perceive that it sounds like you take care of yourself very well, like you do self-care very well.
Well, that's because I kind of go overboard on things. I'm kind of one way or the other. And that's basically on everything I do.
Okay, great.
if I'm gonna be lazy, I'm super ass lazy. But if I'm gonna be hardworking, it's balls to the wall, and I just go as hard as I can. So it can be deceiving. I eat cookies. Don't get me wrong. People think I eat junk food.
That's awesome.
So I think that's also self-care. It's treating yourself.
Treat yourself. I love it. Rachel, what do you think of when you hear the words taking care of yourself first? And do you think you do that well?
Nope. I'm a mother of small children.
Yeah.
And kind of a codependent by nature. So no, that's been a hard one to learn. But I feel like just in the past 6 months of my life, I've kind of figured something out to be able to stay sane in these trying times. And it includes baths, meditation, and talking to friends again. You know, like when you're so cut off, and nature, that's a big one for me. But no, I don't normally put the oxygen mask on myself.
Yeah, it's a hard one to do,
especially
with little kids. I don't have kids, but I can only imagine.
I know there's this little scary mommy blog that people see, but I recently watched this little episode, and it was this mom acting like she was doing all these like amazing self-care, and it was like going to the grocery store by myself, taking a shower by myself, going poop by myself. And then if you do that, you feel so successful. Like it's just this glorious spa day.
Oh my God. Anything by yourself.
Yeah. It's time for me.
Yeah, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
Donnie, what do you hear, or what do you think of when you hear those words? And do you think you do that well, like taking care of yourself first?
I mean, I usually tell my husband he's so lucky I'm a low maintenance wife.
He is so lucky.
He is. That's true.
I mean, self-care, to me, I mean, it doesn't have to be much. I mean, like Rachel said, like it's just, our job is so physically and emotionally demanding. Like for me, when I work, when I come home, the expectation is like I don't do dishes when I come home. Like, I mean, my family knows that. And like it's just little things like that. I don't like dishes piled up when I come home, and please don't expect me to do that when I come home. So so it's just making sure that my cup is full when I come to work. And it's really hard, especially in the last year, to feel that way, because no matter how much we're giving at work, it just doesn't seem to be enough, and that's when it's so frustrating for me. I think I was handling pretty well, but in the last few months, by the time I leave, I'm like, wow, that's probably one of the worst days I've had. And I've said that too many times. So I am digressing, but sorry. So anyway, self-care to me means making sure whatever that is. Like for me, I am in Bible studies, making sure that I have somebody I can chat with. One of my cousin is close here, so I talk to her a lot. And feeling grounded at home, because it's when everything is out of control is it feels like, and it's been out of control for us for a year now. And so I think I'm somehow making it, but I'm not sure if I really do take care of myself. Like I try to, but sorry, I haven't answered the question.
No.
Oh, you're doing great. This is like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, and I love that piece that you said about like, oh, my family knows. Like, no, I'm not doing dishes. You know, they know that. I love that. Like, I feel like the people in my life struggle to know what to expect. Like especially after I'm done with work, I'm like, you just need to know I'm gonna take a shower and go to bed, and that's it. And but I really like that like clear expectation sort of piece of it. But I mean, I feel like I relate, Rachel, so much with like, and Jared too. Like I relate to everything all of you all said. Like the I lean towards codependency in a lot of different areas of my life. It's probably a big reason why I did become a nurse. And then like similarly, Jared, I feel like I'm always especially with working out, I'm like all or nothing. Like I'm right now I'm in the season where I'm like, I don't remember the last time I worked out. I'm a little ashamed of that, but whatever. And then when I am working out, I'll do like an hour of yoga. I'll go for a 5-mile run. It's like,
You're like, that's good for 3 weeks.
yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, oh, why don't I want to work out? I have no idea. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So we kind of already touched on the second question a little bit, but I do want to hone in, and we'll just, whoever wants to respond to this is fine. What are the unhealthy habits that you noticed that you kind of either developed or really leaned into during 2020? Or maybe you all didn't have those habits.
I did. I had a really bad habit. Drinking.
We would appreciate
I mean, I think numbing myself and thinking that was a good coping mechanism. Yeah, the social isolation was really hard for me, and you know, it was the pandemic struck at such a tumultuous time for us at Swedish.
Yeah.
On top of everything, and then just the fallout. I was also having insane amounts of personal shit going on, and so I numbed myself for a while. And just in the summertime, I realized that doesn't work for me or my spirit or anybody around me.
Yeah.
And so I've been sober for a while.
Yeah.
Kind of hit a rock bottom this summer and realized it wasn't who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be doing. And it was hard to, it's hard to stay sober in this and be present in the horrible shit and pain and suffering and chaos that we go through all the time, and trying to summon up like the last bits of compassion you have. You know, like I feel like as a nurse, there's been more of a disconnection even when we're at the bedside than ever before. It's strange. It's such a hard, and it's so hard to even put words to it, but I know all of you understand it because we've been living in this strange realm. But I have found, a new practice in gratitude and meditation and finding my way back to me. And in that, finding my reason why I come to work every day and trying to help humanity suffering as best I can and not be an asshole while I'm doing it. and that's what I was like lately, it's like people will be like, I'm sorry I'm this, or I'm sorry I'm venting, or I'm sorry this is happening to me. And I'm like, you know what? All human emotions right now are okay. Like, sure, we all have a reason why we're feeling one way or another, chaotic or not. It's okay. It is what it is.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, well said.
I love to eat. I love chips. I've never eaten so much chips as I have in the last year. Like, I mean, I cannot wait to, and I don't eat just one or two. I eat like a whole bag full. I'm a stress eater, so I put on weight when I am stressed out. Although last year this is unhealthy, sorry. I was walking a lot, over the summer, but but that kind of went out the wayside. So,
Winter happened.
Yeah, exactly.
so
Mm.
do you
So I
have an
guess
unhealthy habit,
I
Jared?
I have several unhealthy habits. One of which I'm just getting over was kind of the opposite. When people are stressed out, they eat kind of more. I eat less, and I got to the point where I was only having like 2 or 3 protein shakes a day, and that was it.
Oh my
And
God.
it's kind of throwing myself a pity party almost.
Oh.
It's just this fear that I can't control what's going on outside of me, so I better try to my best to control what's happening inside of me.
Mm.
And so I'm kind of getting over that. I'm actually eating real meals again, at least a couple times a week, like real food. My friends kind of joke that all I eat is bird seed, which is kind of true. Um, and then one of my outlets is dancing, and not necessarily just going to the clubs, but dancing with friends at houses and whatnot. And that's been missing. And so I would be going to houses and I would party, and I sometimes find that I was partying a little to an excess,
Mm.
and that's totally not me. And so since New Year's I haven't partied at all, and I'm missing it, but at the same time I know I'm in this state of growth right now, and so I'm just allowing myself to go ahead, give myself permission to miss it, but know it's going to be there waiting for me when I come through with what I'm going through.
Mm.
And speaking of self-care, I'm actually just got to the Swedish Issaquah campus. So self-care is making yourself healthy, and that if something is not feeling right, you go to your doctor or you go to your nurse practitioner or whatever, and you see what's if there's anything going on. And for me, I'm seeing a therapist, I'm seeing a psychiatrist, and I'm getting an echo done today. Cardio spiral. I'm actually wearing, I don't know if you can see it, the little Z patch
Oh my gosh. Good for
for
you.
my heart right now. I'm wearing it for 2 weeks.
Mm.
That's part of the reason I kind of quit partying. As my body is just not healthy right now, and it's really stressing me out. And then you put work on top of that, and I think I've just got overloaded.
Yeah.
And for me, my body is my gauge of my physicality is my gauge of how healthy I am. When
Mm.
my body isn't doing well, I know I'm not doing.
Mm.
Good job, Jared.
Yeah.
Good job.
Doing
And
the work.
Yeah.
so that's kind of I go overboard sometimes, and in fitness, my physicality is I'll go exercise myself till I just can't move anymore, and I know that's not healthy either.
Yeah. Wow. I'm like so grateful for all of you just like being willing to share all of these things, because there's a lot of pain in that. And but I mean, yeah, you all, as Rachel just said, you all three of you are really doing the work, and like, recognizing unhealth and like in a way accepting it. And I think that piece of acceptance is way harder than moving past it, in my opinion, because you can't move past it until you've accepted that part of yourself. Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I was already impressed with all of you, but I'm just so grateful to all of you. Again, so relatable. Like, I just think about Rachel when I was, I don't know what your journey has been, but for me, I would numb specifically with alcohol a lot especially when I worked on a trauma step down unit. I mean, I didn't come home without having like Jameson on the rocks and a twist of lime, um, or like several of them. And, I finally came to this realization of like, maybe I'm not, and that was step down before I came to ICU, but like maybe I'm not in the right place if I need a drink in order to like cope with work,
Yeah.
And like Jared, I'm having health issues too. It's like I'm freaking 28. I've never had health issues in my life, and it's been a rough year. And I mean, Donnie, even stress eating, I'm like, who doesn't stress eat, like I think that's everyone.
Yeah, I got real fat.
I would not call you fit, Rachel.
Oh, I was like pregnancy weight with a large baby. It wasn't a baby.
When pandemic's over, I'll have some boot camps and we can all go out.
Yes, please.
Please.
We'll lose the quarantine 15.
Oh my God. COVID-19.
The COVID-19.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh man, I am so appreciative to all of you. I just am so grateful for each of you.
Do you see how we can all laugh about this in our sadness? I mean, I think that's key though, and that's so key in where we work and finding humor in all things. Like that's my one saving grace in life.
Yeah.
Being able to laugh in the shit.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, my dad had some health stuff going on, and my son, my 5-year-old, walked in, and I was talking to one of my family members and crying, and then I was laughing. I was having this conversation. I was like, laugh, cry, and he was just sitting there like, what? And couldn't understand how I could be crying and laughing, the same thing, same sentence. Like, well, we need to always figure out how to laugh in our tears and humanity.
Yeah. I feel like humor, it allows us to acknowledge, I guess, humanity. It's like this weird pang of oh, I know what that is. And thus it's funny. So you're laughing about it because that feeling.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jared?
I was just going to say that reminds me that when I was out work, I think it was last Saturday, I had these cute little old ladies, and one of them, she was in the corner. She says, "It sounds like you guys are having a party out there. All I hear is laughter." I'm like, you have to laugh. If your work is done, even if you're stressed out, you have to laugh. It's just it's very important.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, what is the most valuable lesson you would say that you've learned in your nursing career? And again, we might have already touched on this, so if you say anything redundant, it's not redundant. We all need to hear it.
Well, for one, I learned that I was getting real snappy at work, and I was getting snappy to my patients, and anything could set me off. And I just remember just being really snarky to one of my patients. I'm like, "What the hell, Jared? That's not you. This is not okay." So I think just during pandemic, I learned that you need to be nice to other people, and that will help lift you out of your funk. And it's just one of the hardest things in the world to do is if you're not feeling in a good mood, to go be nice to somebody else. But after you do that, it really does lift you out of that funk. And that's one of my things for self-care is when I start getting snappy at people, I'm like, that I can't do this. I need a break. And I have called in sick to work just because of that reason. And I think that's super important. What was the question? Oh, what was the most important thing for work? Or most important thing. I know the most important thing I learned as a nurse is you got to take care of each other.
Yeah, that's good.
When I orient people, I usually say they're so stressed out, they're trying to give a good impression, and and I've oriented people when they're going through divorce, and I've had to say it's so important to have yourself cleared of things. You have to be in the right state of mind, because it only takes seconds to make an error, to have the propofol going and not know and overdose, things. So I mean, that's one thing I tell preceptees, that it's very important to have your mind, your home life in the right in the right place before you're joining a job like ours, because you can make you can basically kill somebody, right? So that is one thing advice I tell new employees.
I think mine is everybody's coming from somewhere, and that goes for our patients, it goes for our coworkers, and also with that is I don't know, and it's okay to not know. I think that's a big one that a lot of people need to remember, especially in our realm of work, is it's okay to not know. I don't know the answers all the time. A lot of the time, more often, I feel like I don't know more and more when I come to work. But in that, I think it's a little bit of like ego talk. Like I don't know all the answers, and I don't know what's best for this person. I know what I can do and can't do any of that. And I have found in my years of like, you'll be in a pod with a coworker that's just going crazy, and you're like, what are you doing? I don't understand what's happening. And then you hear their story or what's happening, like kind of on feedback on Donnie, like when there's chaos and when people are coming from chaos, or we just don't know people's walks in life. And I feel like the best times in my life is when I've had those hard interactions with people, and when you get to the bottom of what's happening and can help them in some way, or understanding made it easier for me as a nurse.
So well said, all of you.
Yeah, I mean, our job is like if we make a mistake, we have such a big unit, the word travels, and we can be pretty nasty to each other. And I mean, and I've done that, so I'm not pointing fingers, I'm pointing at myself, and it's reminding me that that on the other side is another person who's probably struggling, going through something really difficult, and made a mistake. And so we all need to be empathetic and carry each other, because our job is so hard. Like it's not a physical, like it's so mentally. Like I think of all our patients sometimes, and I'm like, how much misery they're going through, but we're so sometimes we can come out to be very callous, towards each other, and and having the boldness to maybe stand up to that person who's being negative and say, hey, that's probably you should cut that out, or maybe that's not okay. So I think holding each other accountable. So
that's good. Or even like, like giving voice to like that empathy, right? Like, say we had a situation recently. It was like one of the nurses in the pod does not normally work on our unit. Her patients were like going crazy, and we're all like, what is the deal? And it's like, well, that nurse is, I mean, she's already in a like unfamiliar environment trying to take care of critically ill patients, and then B, like, she might have come to work with stuff going on in her life. Like, is it not within my capacity to give her that benefit of the doubt and to choose to move towards her in that, and like say, hey, I'm here to help you, instead of tearing her down. I think that's like another, like, such a great way to hold people accountable, but also like
Kindly.
yeah, because that's like a hard
Definitely. We could start that. Compassionate accountability.
Right.
Or one more thing I could say is, how some, like when you come onto your shift, the previous shift says, oh, you have that assignment.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell the oncoming person it's an opinion. That is an opinion. You have the right. You may have a continued, maybe it's going to be continued chaos, maybe it's not. So let's not jump to conclusion. Don't feed into it. Last week we had a situation where the family is doing the 24/7 FaceTime in the room, and which was making some people so mad that they were spreading the negativity. Yes, I mean, I know it's a negative situation, but the thing is we have to take care of this person, right? So when you feed into that negativity, the oncoming nurse was like, we are so short that day. Okay, so we have no unit RNs, people are staying over, and I'm on 7 East, and the nurse is like, I think I might have to go home at 11. And I was like, oh no, no, you can't. You can't. Like, what do I do to help the situation? So I said, you cannot feed into I mean, that is their opinion. They may have had a rough night, but when we tend to do that to the oncoming staff, or so let them make their own decision, so I don't know. And I've done that too. I'm just saying, like, these are things that
Yeah,
probably
you learn.
detrimental. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I've done all of that. Like, oh boy, you're gonna have an interesting night tonight, or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah. Thank
But she ended up not going home. She said, I feel fine.
you.
Like, I think she just got so worked up within herself, and we had to talk to the family too, and kind of have some ground rules. But it's just interesting how we all kind of react based
Yeah.
on others' opinions.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, instead of yeah, accepting the fact that, like, okay, let me I mean, quite literally go in and assess the situation first, like, I don't even know how the situation is from my own perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one last group question, and then we'll go into the individual questions. There have been quite a few decisions about pay, staffing, patient ratios, personal protective equipment that have been changing. They've been one way, then the other, and a lot of them have come from administration. And a majority of them have not really sat well with bedside staff. When this happens, what do each of you do personally to cope with those decisions and the stress that can come from these changing decisions? How about Rachel? We'll start with you. I see.
I rage a little inside. I don't know. I feed my rage for a while, and then I don't know. I feel like all the systems in the United States are failing, but especially the healthcare system.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are all employed in a failing system with a leadership vacuum. This does not go anywhere else. This video. No, but I have known in my time that the things I say, the words I say, and my experience that I relay to those people that make the decisions doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And we are working for a business that's trying to make money and trying to and for some reason, hospitals think nurses are the most expensive thing in the world, and you can't pay nurses wages that you can, make it an affordable enough work environment for nurses to leave, rather than just pay us the traveler wages. Whatever. There's just a lot of, like, what is happening, and so I have had to, especially in this last year, just figure out, like, why am I coming to work? Like, what's my why again? And I've completely grieved Swedish. Swedish is, every part of Swedish that I know is dead, except for these nice people that I still work with. But our culture is dead. The way we do things, in that it's created more gray area in policies and procedures, and it's made things more dangerous for our patients. And just trying to figure out in my head why I come to work every day and what I can do to try to make my patients safe. But I feel like it's just been like just this wave of stuff that's hit us really in a short period of time to try to. And the only thing I come back to is just my coworkers, my family that I love, and I couldn't I couldn't do it. And I was looking at those travel contracts a while ago and thinking about leaving. And I know we've all done it a little bit, and just being like, well, I don't know if I want to be at the bedside without my family, because that would be too hard. I'm already kind of fucked up, and I don't know if I could keep going. Like, people kind of know my fuck upness, so, and they accept me. It's a safe place. I don't know. It's really hard.
Yeah, I hear you, Rachel, on wanting to. It's very difficult sitting next to somebody who's making 2 or 3 times. I mean, I'm a baby nurse, so my pay scale's way at the bottom. So it's difficult to sit next to somebody that's just making so much more than me. And then I get it, the upper administration, they make these decisions sitting around a table, but they have no idea how it affects the bedside nurse. They just have no clue. And so what I do when something changes, I just do my practice. Am I safe or are my patients safe? Then that's all that matters. Double glove, single glove, it doesn't matter. If I feel safe, I'm going to do what makes me feel safe at the end of the day. And what makes my patients feel safe. And the only reason I keep coming to Swedish is because they're going to help me pay for my education. And so that's the only reason why that I'm still there, honestly, is because I want to get my master's through Providence. And as soon as that's done, I'm out. Unfortunately, there's no reason. I mean, I wasn't at Swedish when Swedish was really Swedish, but I know Swedish was a great company, and there was still some of that amazing Swedish culture that we all wish had back. There was still that there, and that's completely gone, as Rachel was saying. So it's difficult when management is just kind of tone deaf. And I learned nothing I say matters. I'm just a number. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I call in sick. It doesn't matter if I do this. It doesn't matter if I pick up an extra shift at the end of the day. It just doesn't really matter. The only thing that's affected is me and my patients for that day.
Yeah, I mean, the strike, I never thought, I've never engaged in a strike or, my family was like, wow, Donnie, I've never seen you, like this, with the picketing signs and stuff. So that strike was really had a negative impact in my life, especially the day that we were shut down. We were sent away. That was, I still remember like feeling so sad, like feeling like, wow, this is my work that I've poured my heart and soul. Like I spent more of my time at work and with my coworkers than, my own family, before pandemic. But so I had to kind of look into, I mean, think about, is it time to leave? Is it time to go somewhere else? And I know grass is not greener on the other side. I know, um, like I know every healthcare system is going through difficulties, and pandemic has kind of made it much worse. So it's just, I just have had to reevaluate. And what I say is like, I come back to Swedish because of my coworkers, and then my primary responsibility is my family. So, and meeting their goals. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Um, and so then it takes the element of I'm not dependent, like how Swedish is going to make me feel, because obviously they've failed me, like um, they've it used to be a fantastic institution to work for. And we've fallen far away from that. But I can still say it's still not as bad as some of this other, where we're going towards, because it's going to keep changing, and the Midwest and the East Coast, and, it can be much worse. So, but I'm not saying we should settle. All I'm saying is that's the writing I see on the wall. It's just going to get worse, you know. But so my loyalty is because of my coworkers, and my loyalty is to my family, and um, so that's where so the pay, some of the pay stuff I didn't think we would get anyway. So it wasn't like a huge shock for me. And and we're nurses, we just tend to settle, right? I mean, what else are we gonna do, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
um, so the pandemic, the gloving part, I'm gonna do what's safe. Whoever's sitting in behind the cubicle is not going to tell me how to double glove and why not to do that. So I'm going to do what's safe and right.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Thank you all for being so honest with that. I think that is one of the things that I have struggled with, I think, a lot more than I was anticipating this year. Going from a traveling position to being staff was already pretty hard. There's like so much loss of control in your career in that, because I mean, when you're traveling, you're negotiating like a lot of what you like, your hours, your role, your pay, whatever. And granted, your recruiter's doing a lot of that, but it was just a harsh culture shock. And then to hear all of these like, oh, now we're pairing this type of patient, and now this is like the pay, and like, oh, this is how we use like PPE. I think for me, I just like had to kind of mourn this, like, I mean, I think I genuinely believe control is an illusion anyways.
Yeah. We make ourselves crazy thinking we have any control over any of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just had to mourn that like sense of chaos, really is what it felt like. So I think I appreciate all of you being so honest with that. I think it can be discouraging to feel like, oh, I don't have a say, or like, oh, I don't matter. But I think you're right in that it's so important to remember, like, well, to my pod mate, I do matter. Like, I'm helping that person out in a big way, and to my patient, I do matter. And I think, and it's true, like, we are already valuable whether or not institution says that. And I think it's hard to remember that sometimes. And I think, Rachel, you had said this, it's like, I have realized this in the pandemic, or maybe not even because of the pandemic, but just because of becoming a staff nurse again. I think a lot of my frustration with healthcare is that it's a business, and it really shouldn't be. Like, it shouldn't be a for-profit business. And when you create a system around that, you immediately lose the human value, or the value of humanity in that. And I think that's where a lot of my frustration and pain has come from, of like not being able to value my patient the way that I do.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the resources to do that, or I don't have the capacity to do that because of the way the system's built. And I think it's been a process of mourning and then accepting it and re-mourning it. And so I know that's it's hard to talk about that sort of thing in such a really gracious way, but you all have done that so well, and I really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and move into our individual questions. I think, Jared, I'll start with you. It seems like maybe you got to your appointment, but I don't know how you feel about that or not.
Are you frozen?
Oh, he might be. Jared.
Jared.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll never mind. We'll start with let's start with Donnie, and then if Jared comes back to us, we'll get to Jared. So Donnie, you have mentioned homeschooling has been difficult. how has that perspective affected you at work or you like working? Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Quick question. If Jared is back,
Oh,
do you think we should get Jared before, or should
uh,
I don't mind. Or
wh-
are you
Yeah,
able to talk, Jared?
yeah.
yeah, I'm back. I'm sitting in the lobby. I don't want to be too loud.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I was just saying, since you're at your doctor's appointment, we can do your question first, and then that way you can kind of like sign off, basically, if you like.
Okay.
Uh, so for you, it's clear your physical health is important to you. How did your interest in physical health start? And then we already talked about this piece of a little bit, but how do you feel like your physical health affects you at work?
So I started in basically high school in sports, and then it was my whole life. Up until I was 27 years old, I lived this big secret, and that was being gay. And so sports, like I was a state athlete in all my sports. I was captain of all my sports teams, and it was just important for me to show that part of me so people wouldn't look closer or deeper.
Mhm.
And then after high school, I just started fitness because that's what I could get lost into, and that's what everybody else would focus on instead of who I really am.
Mhm.
Um, I've done an Ironman. I would do all this training. I would race 100-mile races every other weekend. And that's what I just lost myself in. And I became a coach to athletes, Ironman training. And so it's always been for a long time, it was a coping mechanism, and it was a way to hide who I really was. And then after I came out, it became this thing that I understood what fitness was, and I wanted to help other people not to just achieve their fitness goals, but also achieve their mental goals and help them break through whatever they were working on. And fitness for me was that thing,
Mhm.
that gateway to better health. Um, and for me, it's just an emotional thing. My emotions are tied to my health, and so, like I said, if my body isn't feeling well, then I'm emotionally not there. Um, and am I healthy today? No, I'm at the doctor's office right now, post-COVID stuff. So my physical health is taking a beating. I just came from the gym. That's why I'm in workout here too, but I don't have the time to go to the gym like I used to. And so it's a real struggle right now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I just want to say, um, for me, I love who you really are. And I'm so glad that you are living into who you really are now, because I can't imagine having to hide such a big piece of me for so long. So thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know this, I love, love, love working with you. And I'm just so
Uh-huh.
grateful for you as a human being and just who you are. So thank you for sharing
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
that. If you need to sign off, you can. You're welcome to stay too, so no worries.
Yeah, I should sign off and so I don't disturb everybody else here.
Okay, sounds good. Good.
Bye, Jared. Thanks for
Bye.
Thank
sharing.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Um, all right, so next we'll do Donnie's question. So homeschooling, being an ICU COVID nurse, how's it going? Talk to us about it.
So I would say, I'm a I'm not sure if I don't think I'm a perfectionist. I want my kids to excel. The true Indian way, maybe. Like growing up, if I made 90 on my test, my dad would say, "Where's the last 10?" So that's how we are raised in India. I mean, I'm not sure all, but you hear like the general talk, and that is true. So when COVID came, kids are home. My little one is a third grader. Especially last year, it was kind of all kind of mumble jumbo. I expected him to get 100% in, kind of everything. And even like the math, the science homework. And so I would instantly get mad, instantly. Like I would just say like, what, you don't know, and then just get mad. And then I realized that it's my own insecurities, like and the math homework and the music homework, others know and we laugh about. But it was the fact that I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea what this homework was. And I think it just brought that I was so insecure in it that I would just get mad at him, for that. And so my husband's like working, everybody's in the first floor working, and I'm just losing my mind, and there were many days like that that happened, that I would just be so irritable with my little children. And one time I look at Gabriel's face, he looks so scared of me because I was lashing out so much. um, I realized it was an epiphanal moment for me to realize that, you know what, this is COVID, this is pandemic. It does not matter. If I break him as a person, that has long lasting impression upon his life than his stupid music homework, you know and I had to like really understand that in my head, like it doesn't matter whether he makes 100% or 60%. I just need to support him and help him. This is a completely new way of learning. um, and you know and after I realized, we just started reading, and I started not holding myself to that standard. Like, okay, if the homework is turned in a little late, I started not stressing about it because I was that mom, like trying to get everything in at 3 p.m. And, if it's 10 p.m., I started to not worry about it so much. And the teachers didn't either. Like they gave us grace too. But I think I had such a high expectation for myself that I was, I, it was really eating me alive. And so even though we laugh about it, it was kind of good for me to laugh about it at work. It was literally stressing me out so much. So this year, I've 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 learned to step back. I go for walks during school sometimes. I take myself out. I don't need to sit and listen to every word on Zoom. So I kind of gave myself a break, and it's been so great because Gabriel learned by himself, like he needs to do this, he needs to do that, he needs to turn that in. And so he has a schedule on himself, and I just kind of check periodically if he has a paper to do, or he's doing his first PowerPoint. I didn't know third graders could do that. And so, like, so I'm like, teach me, Gabriel. I don't know how to do the Google slide and all these things, um, so I kind of gave myself a break, and it's been great in that school's not been that stressful the last. And so we've opted to continue the remote learning, even though he could have gone back to school. But it was like going to be too confusing. So and he thrived so much better when he's figuring it out. I mean, I actually he's done great this year compared to last year. So um yeah, so I've had to just think that, okay, I'm not. And my husband straight up told me, like, you're meant to be in the front lines, not a homeschool teacher. So like, and it was so, I needed to hear that because I was losing my mind. I am quick to anger. So I've had to pray about it. I've had to just step back, take a break, not be so much in his face. And it's okay if he makes 80% or 50%. It's okay. Like I just need to, the fact that he turned it in, that's all that matters, you know.
Mm. Wow, what a cool journey. I'm like a mom who recognizes, oh, this is my insecurity playing out on my kids. I'm like, whoa, that's like some really self-aware crap right there. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, and I do think that even at work, we see that, right? I mean, when somebody is, like, even doctors, if you suggest something, they do the exact opposite. It's,
Mm,
I think they're insecure themselves,
right.
you know, or our coworkers may not ask you for help, but they're drowning, you know, or you know, it's their own insecurities, not, they don't want to look weak, you know, because, and but rather it's not really weak, it's a group effort, it's a team effort at our work, right? I mean, you know, who can really do everything on their own? Really nobody, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah, that's so
it's
good.
okay to ask for help, and it's okay to step back, you know. So
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Well, because yeah, exactly. It's not really weakness, right? It's like humanness. Like it's
yeah,
just your humanity is showing, basically.
yeah, that's really
Yeah, I feel that deeply. um, sorry, were you gonna say something, Rachel?
No, it's just funny. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, Rachel, last but definitely not least, you are by far one of the most passionate people that I know. What is one thing you want your coworkers to know?
Uh, hmm. Well, that a big passion in my life, and when I applied to nursing school, it was on a whim. I was doing a vast year nursing school route before I came into the Western realm of medicine. I practiced energy medicine,
Mm,
and so I am a Reiki practitioner. And my big focus right now, and I think for the world at large, is our trauma and how they affect us, and childhood traumas, current traumas, all of it. And I would like to offer my services to any nurses that would like it. And I don't know if, I mean, I think it gets spread word of mouth that I do energy work, but I just want everyone to know if they see this, whoever needs it,
mm.
I can help. And there's my child screaming. um, but someone woke up from a nap. But this world needs a lot of healing right now, and like I was like listening to Jared and listening to you, Donnie, and I feel like there's been a massive shift in all the bullshit, and we've been all able to level up in a way to kind of have that introspection, or like see how your need for perfection was affecting someone else, and in that we've all been having these moments. I'm just kind of amazed, right, in this last year of like people's personal transformations and abilities to see their own suffering and figure out ways to ask for help or get out of it. And in that is where I have most of my hope. A year ago, I wasn't holding much hope in humanity and in my work and all that. But every day I feel like I have more and more hope in humanity and our ability to help each other and oversee all the BS and the way things have been. I feel like there's been a lot of talk about like the after times and like going back to normal and all this stuff. But we have had a really hard year, but in that we have seen a lot of the bullshit and a lot of the stuff we could do without. And a lot of we kind of have all figured out ways like, I don't need to do that going forward, or that's not my choice going forward. And I don't know. I have hope. I have more hope right now than I have in a long time.
I love that. Mm.
Wow, this has been like a therapy in itself.
I'm glad you feel that way. I don't know. I've said it this whole video or whatever this is meeting. I'm just so grateful to both of you and to Jared too. I think that yeah, I needed to hear from all three of you, and I know that the nurses on our unit will be grateful as well for like what you've shared today. I think, you know, we talked about this a little bit. We really can't do this without each other. And I am also, in a way, a perfectionist. I think that might be hard for some people to believe, but the ability to ask for help is something that I continue to try to work on, and it's hard to do. I don't know if that's like our personalities or if we learned that in nursing school or what, but like
it's kind of toxic bullshit that we perpetuate it
right
in our ICU environment.
Yeah,
It works for anybody.
yeah,
I mean, I guess, we also need people who will ask for everything too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's that balance, finding, like knowing, having that self-recognition. Okay, I need help now. Like
Yeah.
saying that. And when you say that, Sarah, when you say you need help, you need help. Like you're not somebody who's gonna, like, we do everything for, because we have some coworkers like that too, so who will have no problem asking for help all day.
right.
So I mean, I guess it's recognizing, I mean, when you think about it, in the last year, in a positive note, like, I don't think the world knew what ICU nursing was.
Mm,
Now you get so much of respect when you hear ICU nurse, like, you know wow, you work in the ICU, like, so that has like so much more, like, wow, now we kind of understand what you do. Maybe they don't, but even, at least there's been a glimpse of, like, this is what we do for a living,
yeah.
and on a positive, maybe a little bit of a positive note, at least we have a little bit more respect, maybe, I don't know, um but
Mm,
definitely.
yeah. Well, both of you, I think everyone that we work with, regardless of anything, I feel a lot of respect for you two, Jared, all of our coworkers. I think that this is a really, really hard job. And I used to think that there's like hard days, but it's not that bad. Like I can like handle it. And it's just a hard job. Without a world pandemic or a global pandemic, it's a hard job. And then with a global pandemic, it's like feels impossible. So you all have my respect for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this recording. Thank you both so much for being here today. And
Thanks, Sarah, for doing what you're doing
mm,
for everybody.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.